You know, I am working on another phylogeny script, which is what I would rather be doing, but things keep happening that I just have to talk about. Today, I was visiting one of my oldest relatives in a nursing home. She'd been there for a couple of years, ever since an infection caused her to live in delirium for a bit, where she's awake, but at the same time she's dreaming. And she can interact with us, but we somehow become part of the dream. For example, she was talking with me and my son and my daughter, except that my daughter wasn't there. So I have to argue with her, however gently, that me and my son are indeed standing here and here, but my daughter is not right there. There's no one there. We're the only ones here. And my daughter is alive and healthy, by the way, so this is not a ghost story from one step beyond. Then, still arguing, she points at the window and tells me to go in that other room and ask the people in there, and they'll tell you. So I open the curtain to see outside. Look, there's grass and trees. There are no people in that room because there is no room there. There's no other building there either. It's just a field. This is not a door. This is a window. I didn't say it rudely, but she started crying. Not because she believes something that is not true, as is easily and immediately proved just by looking out the window. She's crying because I don't believe her when she says things that are not true. And strangely, that has always been the case with her, even before she got sick, because she was always deeply religious. And this is the sort of person who would close their eyes and put their fingers in their ears and go, la, 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 whenever I make a valid point that contradicts what she wants to believe. If you would do that, even back when you were a young and healthy adult, then I think that you have to know, on some level, that what you're trying to make believe is not really true, and that the truth doesn't really matter to you. The fantasy matters more. That you have to believe in that even if you know it's not true. And that's regarding religious faith, and we know how that is. But what about delirium? There was a lot of crazy stuff going on back then. I don't need to tell all of it, but a lot of it was pretty weird. And she did get better to where she could, be reasonably lucid again, but she never recovered physically. She can't do things for herself that you would need to do to live independently again. She needs supervision and assistance from nurses pretty much 24/7 now. So she was never able to go back to her home again. We had to, find a new home for her cat and take care of all that stuff. But the thing is, all that happened again today. I called her to see how she was doing, because I was supposed to help her with something, I think a doctor's appointment or whatever, but I called to see how she's doing, and she said that they'd taken her to a hospital. She doesn't know which hospital, and she doesn't know why she's there. She told me it was the same hospital that she went to last week, but I wasn't with her last week. So I asked her to hand the phone to a nurse, and she said she couldn't do that for whatever reason. She said she would, but then she hung up instead. And I call her back, and eventually she answers with her thumb, but she never brought the phone up to her head, and she doesn't say hello. So I'm sitting there on the phone going, hello, 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 and she's just not responding. So I have to hang up, call back, until she eventually does that, and I can hear noises in the room, but she doesn't say anything. So I can't figure out what's going on. I don't know what hospital she's in or why, because she doesn't know, and she can't find anybody to give the phone to clue us in. Since she's not making any sense, I called the old folks home because they would know which hospital she's in, but they said that she's not in any hospital, that she's still in her room, a room she now says she's never been in before. So I go down there right away. I walked in to see her alone in her room, and I caught her in the act of standing up from her wheelchair, intending to walk down the hall, with a recently broken hip, while wearing a backless hospital gown, because she doesn't know where or how she is. I got her to sit back down, and I tried to find out why she was getting up, where she meant to walk off to like that. And she said she needed to go find some other woman who she's supposed to share a suite with. So now she thinks she's in a hotel, and she's looking for a roommate who never existed. And when I try to tell her anything real, she gets angry. It doesn't matter how nicely I say it, but I can't pretend as if this is a hotel. I can't play along with the dream. I told her, "You've lived in this room for 2 years." "No, I have not," she repeatedly insisted, again angry because I don't believe her. I really hope that I never get like that. I would honestly really rather just die before I ever have to live like that, in the madness of not knowing what is real anymore. She did make one argument, that she can prove that she hasn't been in the nursing home for 2 years because she can ask the people where she goes, and they'll tell me. So I said, okay, let's do that. Who are they, the people where you go? What's their number? What's their name? Let's look them up and call them. Then you can ask, and I'll be right here to listen. But she didn't take that option. Instead, her face changed because she knew that I called her bluff. She knew that she had just lied, that she can't really ask the people where she goes. And rather than evaluate why that is, she gets defensive of the lie that I am disproving in that moment. She's trying to preserve a belief that she knows doesn't stand up. After that, she just shut down. She'd stare at me, glare at me resentfully, because I'm telling her a truth that she doesn't want to hear, that doesn't match her imagination. She refused to speak. I would ask her questions politely. I'm there to be helpful, remember. I need to know what her symptoms are. I need to know, but she won't answer. I ask any question, she just looks away, pretends I'm not even there. Like that. Utterly childish. Maybe she thinks that I'm just another character in her dream. The thing is, she is delusional, meaning that she is clinging to a false belief that will not change, even in the face of overwhelming evidence that it's wrong. She knows she can't call those people like she said. And it's just like when the window was a door. Having absolute proof that she is wrong still doesn't change her mind. She cannot accept or admit that she's wrong, even if we prove it. I didn't turn that imaginary room into the outside world, but she'll glare at me as if I did. And I think maybe that's because she's always had the opinion that if you believe something hard enough, then it'll be true. But that if I don't believe it with her, then I have jinxed it. And if it doesn't come true, it's my fault because I didn't believe hard enough. Now, how about other types of delusion? Because I remember last year during the election, she wanted me to drive her to the polls so that she could vote for a dictatorship that would end America. And I told her there are some things Trump said on video that she needed to see. She refused. I said, well, you need to know the truth. But she told me explicitly that she does not want to know the truth, meaning that she just wants to believe whatever she wants to believe. It doesn't matter what the truth is. She doesn't want to know anything that contradicts what she would rather pretend, which sounds like a whole lot of other people I know. I knew a schizophrenic I knew someone with schizophrenia, and he had the same problem. He would have heated arguments with invisible people, and he would even argue with real people that he thought were throwing their voices at him. He thought everyone in America was a ventriloquist. He's gone to jail a couple of times for attacking random people at the bus stop because he thought that they were mocking him, murmuring under, they don't move their lips, they just make this murmuring sound that only he can hear, and he considers that they're mocking him. So he launches, but he doesn't explain why he's attacking them. It was hard to get him to explain it to me. I mean, I had to pry it out of him, what the kinds of things that he was hearing and why he comes to the conclusions that he does. It was hours to get this information out of him. So whenever he does launch at somebody, they don't even know what it is that he thinks they did. And one time, we were in a car. I had a loud four-wheel drive. It had big old mud tires and headers on a V8, and the acoustics inside the car were really bad. It was a loud car to ride in, constant droning and everything. And we're rolling down the freeway in the rain at night. So think about the noise of the rain, the noise of the water, and the mud wheels, and all of that down the freeway. But my friend was convinced that the people in the car next to us at 70 miles an hour in the rain were mumbling at him. He had to yell that to me because it was so loud in our car. Yet I could not convince him that there is no way he could hear them, even if they were screaming at him, just because of the noise in our own car, much less the noise between cars on the freeway in the rain. Somehow, contrary evidence and logic just don't click when you're deluded. There's always an excuse, a way to irrationally defend what is an obviously false belief, so that they never have to admit that it's not real. It strikes me as if delusion, whether it's religious or political or pathological or hallucinogenic, has a defense mechanism, like the delusion is consciously defending itself. I asked my wife about this, and she reminded me that it's just like when someone is drunk and they refuse to accept that they're drunk, that they'll get belligerent with you when you say that they're drunk, even if they pissed themselves and they're staggering and slurring, they're still arguing and unable to accept or correct their own error. Some people simply cannot admit when they're wrong. How is it that we can be so connected to a lie that we will fight to preserve the deception rather than accept the reality? I don't know. The scary thing is that I know religious and partisan people who think like that, even when they're sober. Like, for example, I can complain about Obama and Clinton and Biden and the Democratic Party in general, all the things that they did that I don't like or whatever. I also weigh, on balance, what they did that was good, what they did that was bad, why I prefer, 60-40. I prefer Obama, 60-40 balance on positives and negatives, that sort of thing. But the partisan people that I'm talking about, the MAGA folks, will not do that. They will not disparage their dear leader unless they can share the blame, as if both sides are just as bad. Likewise, I can admit when Republicans do something good. It doesn't happen often, and it hasn't happened in a while, but I can't say that it's never happened. MAGA people, however, will say that Democrats, none of them, have ever done anything right, and they will not admit anything that contradicts their cultish mindset. More about that in the next video. For right now, the summary is that for those who are deluded or hold to a belief system with required beliefs and prohibited beliefs so that they're not allowed to think freely, then no matter how true the truth really is, no amount of proof will ever change their minds. And rather than recognize how dishonest that is, they instead consider it a virtue to be unreasonable. For myself, as somebody who wants to understand and improve my understanding, I doubt I will ever understand the mindset that holds the defending lies to matter more to them than knowing the truth. So it kind of makes sense when you look at the word believe and realize that at its very core is a lie.